In a mad scramble to avert the apocalypse, we dine on everyday civility and decorum. Keeping up appearances, code switching mid conversation makes it telepathic. We may be sinking faster than the Titanic as craters engulf houses and farmland. Deforestation sweeps a steadily vacant nation. Breath converts to wheezing, collective bodies seizing.
We are in the barren wasteland of bored wits, appearing apathetic yet brazenly burdened by a nation sinking to the depths of demagoguery. Supposedly we are wildflowers, yet are forcefully removed from our ecosystem like weeds. Yet we are purposeful in our advocacy, inactive is the aperture capturing idle minds.
It's difficult to captivate as the murder rate skyrockets to new highs. Erstwhile vagabonds slain without ample news coverage. A new suffrage movement grows as fear and drudgery supplant well-meaning initiatives. Laxatives, ingested, flushed out toxins from a jaundiced body. Teeth and eyes, yellow as the new sun. I am equipped with the Virgo moon as I wrestle with my purpose in the afternoon.
In tune is my third eye, in bloom is my blurred mind. Behind the curtains we see shortened lifespans, mindscapes of experts derided. For the smart ones get murdered by the ignoramuses. Idiocracy incremental in the instrumental eradication of free will, of free thinking, of free expression. Regression of societal expectations is a plague worse than losing your firstborn child.
Mothers and fathers never recover from the vacant emptiness. One less dinner plate to wash as uneasy anxiety creeps. Disease of the nuclear household. Broken families battered ballistic, it's sadistic. Political insiders subjugate society with loopholes and system games. Fractured bloodlines and generational curses haunt like overbearing apparitions. Who you gonna call? The Ghostbuster phone is disconnected. Is anyone out there safe? Foundations rupture as car tires flatten, unable to gain momentum.
Unraveling air stripped from healthy lungs, tongues bitten in mid-glossolalia. There are paleontologists who can't decipher defining aspects of this period of civilization. Devolution to Neanderthal knuckle-dragging dragon recaptures the breath confiscated. Mouth is a pyre for the embers of lost ethics. Pathological liars, anesthetic of truth. Uncouth, no proof. Wisdom tooth extracted by sadists too unenlightened to operate under natural lighting. Syringe plunged in the darkest annals, battering the gum line.
Imagination is noosed by Satan's iron grip. The world bled dry of all its possibilities as children suffer the sins of their forebears. Tantric sex titillates the shot-calling juggernauts who ground humanity into nothingness. With mortar and pestle, the remains of humankind's greatest heroes are extinguished. With a stale salute, soldiers with no purpose march to the beat of another's drum as captains of industry quarrel over petty trivialities.
For the cycle to end, the wheels must cease to spin. Replace these axles with the foundation to keep revolving, and may this cipher keep moving with an upright position even as we lay.
Here we are. We got Cala and Moses in the building. I've known this guy for 2 decades. This guy has been releasing and dropping books. Like, I met him and I was like, people our age or people in my age group could make a book? And this guy had 50 poets in it. Just to see the OG dropping some fire with this guy who's constantly Socrates philosophies, and to see you guys seeing you guys come together, it's just a special moment. But how did you guys even become friends?
We both owe our origins to the MuddyCup Coffee House on the old 388 Van Duzer Street. I got started in spoken word in September of 2002. I met him in roughly September of 2004, I believe.
04, definitely.
Yes. And I had been doing my thing for a while. I had been in and out of the spoken word scene for a couple of years. And then when I got back in, I met this cat. And We've been friends for 20 years now, going on 21 years now.
I was only 14 at the time.
Wow.
I was among 20 and something and 30 something year olds, you know?
Yeah, for context, I was 23 when I met him.
And I thought at first I was a fish out of water, but then I was welcomed by the community, and like I got a lot of mentors out of it, and a lot of encouragement, when I was really rusty at the time. And eventually as I approached the mic and kept going week after week, because the open mics took place on Tuesday nights, and I just kept going back every week, so. Yeah.
And we've been grateful for it. We were definitely grateful to have you be a part of that scene, knowing that there were plenty of teenagers out there who were just like running around drinking Red Bulls and just causing mischief and what have you. Yep. This one was genuinely interested in the craft of poetry, and I saw it. We just took kindly to each other practically immediately.
Yep.
That's so important. My good friend Stefan, he always says, if you want to stay out of trouble, find people that are interested in the same thing as you. Mm-hmm. That's not trouble, but like you find your tribe, and like they're all passionate about something, and you're all like pushing each other, and you're all just helping each other. Yeah. And that's amazing to connect.
Yeah, big up
at an
Stefan.
age where, it's you're searching, you're figuring out, what do I even like? What's going on with this? And then for you to find poetry that early, and then to find, a G in the poetry scene, someone who, who's always been planting seeds and helping others. This guy's been always looking out for others. So that's amazing to hear.
Yeah, it's really about self-discovery. That's kind of what I was going through at that point.
Yeah.
And catharsis and finding relief in certain aspects of my life at the time,
Right.
And poetry was a way to process that,
At the same time, I was also trying to find my place in life as well, so we kind of had that in common. Different ages, different struggles, but it's like the same identity issue that we were both going through at that point.
Right.
Yeah. There's just something, like when I see a poet, I'm just thankful. Because they just literally throw it all on the line. Like, they share it all. There have been times I'm just looking at poets, I'm like, damn. It's just like they speak, like I'm just like walking with them and like seeing hearing what they're going through. And there have been times I've just seen poets, and those have left such a mark on me. Just hearing the pain, hearing the struggle, hearing the climb, and then putting it all together in a way that just makes sense. Because, you're going through it. A lot of the time, nothing makes sense. Mm-hmm. Right. And then, like, you have to go through all that stuff to share that 2-minute line, the 2-minute, poem with someone. So,
Poets just have a way of being able to make sense out of the nonsensical, and even then we can't really make sense out of it.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. So here you are, poetry, connecting as friends, 20 years in the making. Tuesday Night Beats is here.
Yeah.
How does it feel? You're constantly working on something. You're building it up. You're collaborating. It's probably hundreds of conversations, hundreds of rewrites.
Oh, many. Almost every other night we've been talking about this book, and then we finally started getting around to writing it about a year ago, I guess. And we started doing it on Google Docs, going back and forth, and making revisions and going through the process,
So
well,
what came first, the book or not the book, but the poem?
The poems came first.
The poems came first, and then we just kind of developed a concept around those poems.
Got it.
Actually, our first poem in there we wrote back in 2007 or 2008 or something like that.
Yeah, it was called Bloodline.
That is the first poem in Tuesday Night Beats, and it goes back that far.
And we revised the hell out of it, because at the time it was pretty raw.
Yeah.
We really had to cultivate it again. We had to revisit it, in our current iterations as poets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were in your teens. I was in my 20s. I'm now 43. Yep. You're now 35. And, it was just like amazing that we were actually able to find that archive.
Yeah.
Right there, because you were using a Facebook page that you weren't even using anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have a completely different Facebook page, because the Facebook page that I had for 12 years is now gone, and I wound up coming back as Jacob Moses, and couldn't be happier about that.
So you found the poem, you turned it into a current version of the story. That's amazing. That's so cool. It's hard for me to go back to something that I did so long ago that was like released and be like, hey, I'm going to change this now. But that probably had to be refreshing, right? Like, or was it hard to do that?
You know, it came pretty effortlessly, honestly. Like, because we've been working on poems together for a long time. This was just like another stepping stone that we had to that we needed to attain.
Thankfully, it wasn't a stumbling block.
It wasn't a stumbling block, no. But no, I mean the collaborative aspects of our relationship were already in play. So coming out a poem from almost 20 years ago, it didn't really take as much effort as we both thought it would. Honestly.
Yeah, and I think we realized that we were still pretty damn good writers back then. I think that was the thing that amazed me the most, is that we were in completely different frames of mind back in the ages that we were 20 years ago, and all I know is that it really didn't take a lot of tinkering. I think it just was amazing that we saw how much we jived together, and we saw how much we were really able to rock the page.
Yeah, and one thing about Tuesday Night Beats that we've been kind of advertising is that it's meant for people who love to experience live spoken word as well as read it on the page. So that's basically that's our selling point with the book.
Got it.
Absolutely. We wanted to showcase the fact that we weren't just poets, but that we got bars too, which I hope we proved just now.
That's fire, yeah.
We wanted to also combine hip-hop and beat poetry from the 50s and the 60s, and I think that we did that effortlessly because we have our beat roots, you know, given that we performed at the MuddyCup and we were like coffee house flies on the wall for many, many years. And we both love hip-hop, so...
And we're also published in the Beat Poetry Foundation's 2 anthologies.
Oh, yes, cool. 2023 and 2024. Yeah, so we're both in there.
That's so cool.
And I actually have a Pushcart Prize nominated poem in there.
Let's go. So, of course, Tuesday connects to MuddyCup because that was the Tuesday night you had the open mic
poetry.
That's cool.
Night, yeah.
And as the artwork, maybe tell us a little bit about that because I love that. The artwork, it's like cartoon versions or is painting?
It's basically, it's kind of like caricatures of us.
Got it.
Yeah.
Who did that?
Michelle Booker is the name of the artist who created that. I had actually met them at... the previous incarnation of spoken word at the Richmond Hood Company. It was during Advanced, because it was Advanced Live Fest and Wordplay.
Got it.
I believe I met them during the Advanced era, and they were the Grand Slam champion of Advanced.
Michelle Booker,
yeah. They went by Karma at the time. But
they killed it.
They were awesome.
The artwork is amazing. That's cool.
But what we did was we funneled Karma references of what the MuddyCup used to look like. And I actually wrote an article in Shaolin Art Party that came out last year doing like a retrospective of the MuddyCup. So we sent that to her also. Nice. So it was a mixture of images and my article, and then she formulated that. And that's how she arrived at the cover. You know?
They really captured the essences of us, and they captured the essences of the MuddyCup also.
Yeah.
And you look at the title page and just how effortlessly they created that Tuesday Night Beats font.
Yeah.
Just how effortlessly it seemed like they really captured the essence of the MuddyCup. I was just freaking amazed.
I mean, the typography looks very similar to what the actual MuddyCup facing looked like back in the day. So they really went above and beyond and captured it.
That's amazing.
They really put their heart and soul into that cover.
So maybe tell us a little bit about the creative process, putting out a book together, because of course a lot of the time we're doing something on our own. We're dealing with our own inner demons or inner struggle or inner talk. But now you're kind of bouncing that off. Like how was the workflow? How was the creative process?
Doug usually starts it. I finish it.
Got it.
That's the one thing that we always managed to make it a point to do. Doug would always be the one who would have the germ of the idea to create. And we just bounce off each other repeatedly, and it was just an amazing thing to know that we were oftentimes able to really bounce off what we were saying previously and then just add another layer and add another dimension, and knowing that Doug and I both care about the same issues, knowing that we're both affected by the same issues, it really came seamlessly for us. We didn't really have to do a lot of editing. We didn't really have to do a lot of anything, really. It was just like so incredibly improvised stream of consciousness, and yet it worked.
Yeah. Well, it's stream of consciousness, but it's also very concrete. There's a structure to every poem that we're doing, but it's basically like an unspoken structure that only Jacob and I kind of know about, and that, you know, and that's how we've able to. That's basically one of the secret ingredients in the recipe. You know, if this were like a casserole, like that would be that ingredient.
Got it.
You know? Yeah.
That's so cool.
The Bush's secret family recipe.
Yeah.
Like, where do you kind of find yourself
Mine is
really finding these like creative sparks?
Yeah, mine is typically at the kitchen table. Doug, where do you?
Yeah, I'm usually like in the living room or in that area, you know. But again, this took place on virtual. I mean, we did this on Google Docs. So we really weren't. Most of these poems weren't written in the same room.
Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of times it would be like he'd write a stanza. He'd be like, "Tag, you're it." I'd write a stanza. Tag, you're it.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
We just had that synergy.
Bloodline was written in person, though.
Bloodline was definitely written in person. Yeah. Actually, Release we wrote in an ice cream shop. We wrote that at Eggers.
Yeah. Eggers, right.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many poems are in the book?
8 total. 8 total.
8's my favorite number, so that's cool.
Infinity, baby.
And that first poem, that wasn't just like 6 bars. That was...
No, these were stanzas.
Papoose would have been proud.
Yeah, I mean, these were like fairly sizable stanzas.
That's cool. Yeah. Did you write any of the poems over beats? Like, what's kind of your
No,
not at all.
Not at all.
Just clear space. No.
Clear, quiet, solitude.
Got it.
You know?
100% quiet.
Yeah.
Which one? That's right. Which Eggers?
The one here.
The one on Forest Avenue.
Okay, because there's like 4 of them now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The OG Eggers.
They've expanded now. Okay.
I could see poems being written in that one. That's cool.
I mean, I had bought him a journal, like a Tree of Life leather journal, and he brought it with him. He was writing on one page, I was writing on another, and Release just came out, and we were just thinking to ourselves, I think it was like a full moon or something, and that's when you're supposed to release everything that just doesn't serve you, and that was the concept behind Release. We were both looking for things to release from ourselves, and that's how we got that poem together, and that's the second poem in the book.
I love when I see artists invest in themselves, you know, and I always love when I see a poet make an audio version, because there's so many poems. Like, a lot of people will send me a poem, or like they'll put it in the, like, I'll interview them and it'll be in the interview, and I'm like, damn, I wish I could just hear them say this.
Right. Yeah.
Is there going to be any like audios or clips or anything for people to hear the book?
Oh, actually, we had this idea to do an audiobook version of the book.
We've talked about this extensively, and we would definitely love to do that.
Where does someone even get the book? Where does someone find it? Where does someone support it?
Currently, it's on Lulu.
How do you spell that?
LULU.
Okay.
.com. And you just type in the search box Tuesday Night Beats and it'll show up.
Cool.
Yeah, it will eventually be on Amazon, as many of these things tend to happen when we use companies like this. It'll be on Amazon. It'll be on Barnes & Noble. We want to encourage people to buy it on Lulu, though, only because Amazon tends to rip off their authors.
Yeah. How important, what kind of difference does it make? You know, as someone who's made books, released books, printed your own, selling them out the truck, what do you recommend to someone that maybe they don't have their book? What's a route to go?
I think there's
go through a publisher,
so many routes.
Self-publish.
There's so many routes. I mean, I started by using a publisher by the name of Hewlett Packard. I printed it out from my from my printer, and I learned my printer settings and knew how to make books out of that printer setting.
Love it.
And my first 3 chapbooks under my previous name, Jack Ann Friedman, Never Lick the Spoon, Tobias, Art Therapy 101, all came from my printer.
Love it. So you just let nothing get in the way.
Nothing. And ultimately, it's just a matter of having that grind, having that drive, and however you decide to make that drive happen, you make it happen.
Being that I know you guys, I feel like you have more poems.
Yeah, we always
on
deck.
deck.
We always do.
We're never short of them.
We got a lot in the chamber. You know?
Prolific AF.
We have enough in the chamber.
So let's maybe can we drop something off the new book?
Sure, yeah.
We can do that.
You want to do what's the one? I don't know. Maybe Through the Cracks?
Through the Cracks sounds good.
All right.
I think we could do that one.
All right.
Okay.
Here
Whenever
goes.
you're ready, bro.
All right, here goes. Time slips away from us. Candid cameras no longer capture as lenses fracture. Fragmented facsimiles instead of Kodak moments. Momentous occasions now, rendered milquetoast as macabre images slide into societal consciousness, closing the door on the violent chapters of human history as bereavement is bottomless and the few that are saved salaciously grin, looking skyward.
Is change something we can Xerox? Can we forego fecklessness in the wake of violent upheaval? I surely hope collectively as poets that we can metamorphose previous generations into a new movement, a new revolution, giving way to a paradigm where discourse is civilized, where disagreement exists within the erection of dismantling of straw men and ad hominem dungeons.
Instead of puffed out chests and blatant disrespect, we progress to a timeline where leaders champion causes that benefited all of civilization and not just the power brokers. Vagabonds will no longer scuttle like meek mice in between the vents of the upper class's haunted mansions. They will be provided for. They will not fall through the cracks. Asylum will be sought and acquired by trials of fire. Passion burns, igniting saviors within us all.
We are gumshoes detecting the missing pieces of souls held hostage, dismembered, scattered through the ocean's diaspora of shoulders and arms looking for compassion to fill the void of embraces. Do we refrain from ecclesiastical worship? Hypocrisy of a nation where shirts remain on the backs of an apathetic. Our fellow human beings are begging. Many will mime deafness to please without communicating.
Maybe we needed a dose of divine intervention to disentangle the fraught webs woven by corruption. Years of Star-Spangled Banner praise and chest beating have let society slip-slide into dystopia. A second baby boom as overpopulation skyrocket. Fewer resources, more mouths to feed. 2050 could mark the end of all things, as extinction fashions its funeral suit over the body of this nation gripped by malnutrition, coddling it in its mahogany casket.
And whether civilization will make it to the year 2525 will be a mystery shrouded in blankets of totalitarianism and warfare. Controlled by the automatons, the machines we once raged against will possess the population like demons. But those same demons take the form of flesh. Apocalyptic backlash lies within the hands of humanity. We will craft Armageddon like lanyard, and friendship bracelets will only exist within an extinct concept, outdated nomenclature, reminiscing of times where we didn't see each other as mortal enemies disguised as belligerent equines and pachyderms.
Where did all the rebellious freedom fighters go? Those that schemed to dismantle the engines of fabrication. They became complacent as they disappeared into the twisted logic of the immorality immortal ruling classes. As hierarchical manifestos tampered with their thinking, they, unable to construct solar-powered thought bombs that uplifted the underclass, now seen as anti-heroes to their causes, with contagions infiltrating every aspect of life, liberty, and the pursuit pursuit of happiness reduced to hapless drones and pencil pushers, lacking the independent insight they once possessed. We should prepare to eulogize the fallen. We need to take shelter. Technophobes prophesizing technological takeovers.
We of the electronic age need to reframe acts of rebellion. Let it not be a phase of aging. Let it be a necessity. Let it be the masters of a universe on a morphine drip. Let us not succumb to sedation. Let us not succumb to sedition. Let us find the solution against the fusion of collusion between the federal and the corporate. For their interests must never outnumber and outweigh our onuses overwhelmed by odium.
Poem.
Let's go. And what's that one called?
Through the Cracks.
Yep.
Let's go. Tuesday Night Beats. Make sure you go get that. Lulu.com. Got Cala and Moses. Damn. 100 bars. Let's keep it going, guy. That's... So here you are, you both have been in the game 20 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Published, dropping albums, dropping books, collaborating, stages everywhere. What advice, or even just an artist or just anyone, they're going through shit. They're going through tough times. Maybe you meet someone now, they're 14 and they're trying to figure it out. Like, what would you say to this person?
You want to feel this one?
Yeah. All right. Sure. Okay. I would basically tell them to. I would advise that they expose themselves to as much of the intended craft as humanly possible. Basically, diversify every aspect of their learning, and that comes from watching other poets either live or on YouTube. Like there's a web channel called Button Poetry. You can check out spoken word performances there. And basically, my advice would be to immerse as deeply as humanly possible, and don't just read or experience one kind of art. Like this doesn't even go for poetry; it could be for visual art too. It's just the exposure, I think, should be as diverse and eclectic as possible, and in turn, that will inform that person's creation.
It also helps to have a very eclectic set of interests as well to draw from, whether it be art, whether it be science, whether it be technology, engineering, whatever the case may be. It helps to be able to learn the different disciplines of education and life and be able to weave it into poetry. Poetry doesn't just happen out of thin air. You gotta have a muse for it. You gotta have multiple muses for it. And I think that the one thing that really helps also when it comes to absorbing poetry in, say, like an open mic setting or a slam setting, is to just be as receptive as you can possibly be and be as sensitive as you can possibly be to the environment around you.
Exactly. And also, I think that if you say if you are an aspiring spoken word poet, I think you should definitely take. It doesn't hurt to take like a drama class, take an acting class, take an improv class. I've taken these and they've helped me immensely, particularly to recover. Like say if you flub a line, and like I've seen poets they dither and they stutter and they mess up and like they crash and burn, but there's a method of recovering to save your set, to save your poem. So that's also recommended.
Drama is definitely a very good discipline for something like that. I've taken drama classes. I didn't take any drama classes before I started spoken word, though. I think for me, it was like I just had this burning passion to just get this crap out of me. And I wanted it to be as authentic to my voice as possible. And I think when I first started out, I was definitely very raw. I was definitely very
So was I. Yeah.
Unhinged in a lot of ways. But I think that I definitely made it a point to really refine it, and yet at the same time maintain that trademark emotion that I put into my words.
I love it. I love it. I love what you said about immersing. You know, that to me is just so important because I kind of reflect back to even like elementary school. Mm-hmm. At that age, I can't really remember what I learned, but I remember the topics that I learned, right? So it was like math, writing, technology, science, and history.
Yep.
There were like 5, right?
Yep.
Right.
So my advice to anyone is whatever that thing that you choose, whether it's like music production, learn the math in it. Mm-hmm. Learn, the business, like doing accounting, organizing spreadsheets for that. Learn the history. You want to rap? You can't just step up in the arena without knowing who made Step Up in the Arena.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, shout out to
Exactly.
Gangstar, but you can't just step up in the arena and not know who did step up in the arena.
Or like the history of like battle rap. I mean, the battle rappers from the
Yeah.
early 90s.
Learn the history, right?
Yeah.
Learn the writing.
Yeah, right.
Just creating and making. And of course, how did I leave out the art? Just creating and doing and learning styles. And so like whatever that main focus is, I love how you were like, immerse yourself, learn the science. How does it work? How do I put something together? How do I make this result? It takes maybe this temperature. Oh, you want to get it to sound like this? What's the science behind that?
And also
Get
the
deep with it.
intersections
Yeah.
as to how these things work.
Yeah.
Like the synergy between all these variables.
Yeah.
Because alone, if you take them, piece by piece, they're in and of themselves. But I think the synergy and the crossover is where the magic happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another important footnote to include is that we were both inspired by HBO's Russell Simmons Presents Deaf Poetry.
Yep.
And the one thing that we are definitely grateful for is that a deaf poet wrote the what is it called
The foreword.
again? Thank you, the
foreword.
foreword for Tuesday Night Beats, and that was a poet by the name of Ko. We have also gotten the support of local poet Emmanuel Xavier, who was a deaf poet, and we've also gotten the support of Helena D. Lewis, or Dr.
Helena D. Lewis.
Can't
Yes,
forget the doctor part. No,
Can't forget that. No.
big up, doctor. Yeah.
Shout out that, yeah. And that goes with the history, right?
Yeah.
Like you're doing your work, you're doing your art, you've done the math, you connected with the person to release the book, and like how much it costs. You've done the writing. You learned the techniques, the science of of all that.
Right.
But then you did the history. Who came before, who's working in the whole other side of the world, who's creating.
Yeah.
Who was part of this poetry. One of the most amazing things, deaf poetry was special.
Deaf poetry was
amazing. So you knew the history too, and like just hearing all that, I just love how you encompass
deaf poetry,
all the school subjects within the subject of
Exactly.
poetry.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I think of you guys, I'm like, yo, these guys are really, they're obsessed with this.
And
craft.
also, like,
They love it.
my parents are both career writers,
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. My mom was a newsroom editor for like almost 30 years. And my dad wrote for music, he did like music scholarship for like blues and roots music. So that's research. I mean, he had to know, like the amount of knowledge you need to write on a subject that specific, blues and roots music. I mean, that's really, yeah.
And my mother was a legal assistant who used to do people's papers in college.
And it's great, just seeing you both, hearing about your story as young poets, and still we're young today, but you're more seasoned. Seeing the flavors mix and how you've brought it together, it's really great to see, guys.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely seasoned. I'm getting the garlic powder and in my beard right now. Used to be like a solid red, and season's kind of coming in like garlic powder, salt and pepper. No, gingers, we don't do salt and pepper. We do garlic powder and paprika.
Let's go. Now, thank you both. Thank you for not only, creating it, in such a awesome way, but always just being there for others. You know, when I see you guys, you're always at shows. If you're performing or not, you're at shows. You guys you really, you put the you in support for real. Like you guys really
Thanks a
go.
lot. Thanks, yeah.
You show up for the poet community, and it's just great to celebrate this book with you guys.
Oh, thank you so much, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.